method. So in this class we are going to discuss about variational and approximate method, which are typically used to solve under differential equations. These are the differential equations. We'll look at it. We are not going to discuss about dividing the elements and converting that into the equations kind of things, but we are only dealing for today about differential equations. So basically, what we have done is till the date is we have seen in a FEA procedure, we have seen in a elemental matrices for bar element, spring element, and we have seen an assembly process. We have solved few examples on it. Last two sessions are specifically for stress equations, and also we have seen what does that plane stress means, what is the need of it, and also we discussed about plane strain part and axisymmetric part. And this is typically is used to convert any 3D complicated model into 2D model. That is what basically aim of this plane stress and axisymmetric kind of operations. It is a kind of a transformation we do it. So this time we are going to discuss very little things, and also very important thing when we are going to formulate the finite elements, and defining an equations for it. So we are going to discuss about what does that weighted residual method means, and Galerkin method. Also we are discussing about collocation and point collocation method, and subdomain method, and least square methods. So basically, when we say on a domain, so for moving further, I would like to give you one important statement here. If I take any kind of a beam or any kind of a structure, so this is my beam. Just imagine this is a simply supported beam, and it is supported at some point like this, and I want to now know the behavior of this. So behavior means I want to know what will be the deflection at all these points. That is what basically intention, as well as once we determine the deflection, I want to determine what is the value of stress, what is the value of the strain. All this behavior I want to put in terms of an equation. That is what basically aim of it. So for that purpose, we are looking for the solution within this range, that is x equal to 0. I will start with this, I will have an x equal to L. So this is what it is called as entirely a domain. So this domain word in previous studies we most of the time not used it. So that's what most of the time we'll get confused. What does that domain means? Domain is nothing but a range in which we are going to look the solution for it. So this is one thing, most important thing, that is your domain is starting with an x equal to 0 to x equal to L. That is one thing. So next is, so you want to now trace out the behavior of it. Behavior means if I am going to apply a force, any kind of a force onto this, so what will be the deflection at different location? That is what basically intention to know it. So for that purpose, if you look into the strength of materials book, and you might have come to the one equation, that is what d2y by dx square, which is equal to minus m by ei. So this is nothing but y is my deflection. This is y is your deflection. X is my domain distance, or what are the collocation. This is x is here 0, and it is moving till the L here. So this is valid for 0 to L only. This when my value is within this, it is valid. So what this indicates, this is nothing but a derivative. Derivative means you are going to take a second derivative of it. Second derivative means it is a rate of change of strain, or rate of change of that also it is called as a curvature. This also called as a curvature of your system, and thus curvature is directly proportional to what are the moment of your equation. These are the two constants, which is this is material constant, this is geometric constant. So this equation you want to solve it. When you are going to solve this equation, it needs some kind of conditions. So those conditions are called as boundary conditions. So in previous few sessions we have seen uh, that there are two ways of problems. One is boundary value problem. Here you can see in a boundary of your boundary value means your solution is confined within this domain or within this particular boundary, and then this kind of a problem is called as a boundary value problem. And another one is an initial value problem. In this initial value problem, what it happens, we are going to specify the system with respect to time and specify a condition or configuration of system at a particular instant. That is what it is called as an initial value problem. At time t is equal to 0, what is my configuration? This we are not going to do it. This is typically for dynamic problems, and we are dealing initially with only static problems. That's what we'll concentrate on, boundary value problem. When we are going to solve this within a boundary value problem, I want to know what is the condition at this boundary and this boundary. I can have at x equal to 0, my y is 0. This is one boundary condition. Another condition, because this is a second order equation, I should have two boundary conditions at least. And at x equal to L also my displacement is 0. So this is what in a first order boundary conditions, because only you are talking about displacement, you are not talking about any higher order derivatives. That's what it is in a simple, and this is the first order boundary conditions. Similarly, you can have a dy by dt is one of the condition, which dx, which is again a slope condition. There then it becomes a first order, then third order, like that, first, second, third, like this. You can go on including multiple boundary conditions for this. So when we are going to solve any problem, so we are first of all defining your problem in terms of a differential equation. Just now I told you. So how to define this differential equation? That represents a behavior, that represents a rate of change of your particular variable. In this case, in beam case, we are dealing with a rate of change of your displacement with respect to, this is my x and this is my y, and this y is going to change with respect to x. This is nothing but my displacement equation I want it. So this is what you are looking for it. And but actually if you look into this is a typically parabolic shape you can find, and parabolic equation is in a second order equation. That's what you should have in a second order equation, that is d2y by dx square, something like this. So this is this differential equation. Now there are different ways by which we can solve it. One is analytical way, that is what you can do in integration, you can do in a Laplace, you can use in a substitution method, and so many methods are there to solve this differential equation. But in this case we assume this material property remains constant, isotropic material. My geometry also remains constant. These are the basically limitations for this very analytical method. You can't get an entire closed form solution in this case, and that's the reason we need to look into somewhat more approximate kind of a method, and that is what here it is a numerical methods. In this numerical method we have seen we have looked at a finite difference method. That is what an FDM we call. We can also use a Runge-Kutta method to solve time dependent problems. And then most important is here it is in a weighted residual. We'll just look at what does that weighted residual, and next time we'll look at what does that weak formulation. So here we are going to concentrate in this particular section, say entire session. So this method is typically applied into finite element in terms of a piecewise solution. So we'll look at what does that piecewise means and how to implement this weighted residual into the pieces and get an entire equations for your problem. That is what it is expected. That is weighted residual method. Okay. So basically, analytical solution is in a mathematical expression. This is that gives values of desired unknown quantity at any location of the body and valid for infinite number of points in the component. This is what we want, that y is equal to x is nothing but my equation. So this may be this is for only one dimensional problems. 1D problem, that's what we have, only one x dependency. If I have a 2D problem, then I can have an x, y, and z, and I'm going to look at u. So then it becomes partially depend on this all. So this is what way we can do it. And it is most of the time this analytical formulation or analytical solution is not possible for most of the engineering problem because of the material complexity, geometric complexity, and also so many parameters are going to involve, and then it becomes difficult to solve it. So that's what we need to look into the approximation part of it. Approximation means, first of all, you should know what does that mathematical model means. Maybe behavior is captured by your differential equation. So this is a differential equation, and this differential equation is now simplified. So that is by a numerical tools, that is discretize or divide kind of things, and then simplify this model using a numerical solution. And this method is typically involved in a kind of a potential energy of your system, and maybe sometimes you are going to know unknown functions you are going to determine. Also you are going to determine displacement like an unknown functions and kind of things. So this can be divided into various categorization. So one is, this is what it is called as a potential energy method. This is potential. It means you are going to, potential means you are going to determine the energy. Energy means when you are going to apply a force onto any beam or something. So that particular energy is stored into the system in terms of a deflection, and that is what it is called as a potential. And similarly, we can have three different ways by which we can simplify your solution. That is, one is weighted residual method, another variational principle, in which we are going to study Legreet's method, and last one is a minimum potential energy principles. So we are first of all we are collecting all the energy components into the system coming in and summing it, and we are assuming that total energy of the system is remaining constant. And as I take a derivative of it, so it will give me some solutions, and that is nothing but a technique called as a minimization of potential energy solutions. So in this weighted residual, we are going to look at what does that Galerkin method, collocation method, and least square method. This is for today's session we are going to concentrate. So basically, variational principle method means what? Basically, it starts within your differential equation, and this is what in a domain. Domain means maybe for a 1D problem, my x is varying 0 to L. This is my domain. For 2D problem, I have two variables. X is now 0 to L, and y is 0 to M something. So similarly, I can have a 3D problem and kind of thing. It starts with differential equations. Once we got, these are the symbols. Keep in mind, these symbols will only use for representation of something. It is not used for confusion. Don't make any kind of a confusion. Instead of this symbol, I can use any other symbol also. But most of the researchers use this symbol. That's the reason it has made it standardized. Whenever comes up in a domain, you need to use this Ohm symbol. So that is capitalized Ohm. So similarly, if you look into once I receive the differential equation, okay, over the certain domain, so there are certain boundary conditions within which that particular behavior is to be captured. So that is what it is represented by this tau symbol. And then we want now, so actually this is my system. I'm going to provide some input, I'm going to get the output, and I want to create a relation between this input and output. And everywhere you can find, and that relation is nothing but a solution of your problem. So first of all, start with a guess kind of a solution. Just I'll start with some polynomial, maybe y is equal to c0 plus c1x plus c2x square, something like this. So this is what an assumed solution. So this will, and this is for a typical 1D problem. For 2D, then x and y will come into the picture. 3D, it will come x, y, z, and if I am going to count in a time, one more term will come. That is a 4-dimension I can say. So once I assume this, ultimately you want to determine the C0, C1, C2. This C0 and C1, C2 means first we know we have a differential equation with us. This is one thing. Second, we have a boundary conditions. And we want to determine the C0, C1, C2 constants or Cn kind of constants using this differential equation in boundary conditions. So these are the things which we can look into this. This C0, C1, C2 are determined by substituting into boundary conditions. It should satisfy this, not I will say only I will not say only it is to be say substituted, but it should satisfy. Then and then I will get a solution for it. So this should satisfy this differential equation and boundary conditions. So function is to be use this differential equation. Both the things should satisfy, and then determine this unknowns, that is C0, C1, C2, and now again substitute back into this original assumed function, and that is nothing but telling you the solution of it. And what are the solution is again started with certain assumption, but I will not get an exact solution. That is what an approximate solution, and that approximate solution is somewhere away from your actual solution or exact solution. And the difference between your approximate solution and your exact solution is nothing but our residual. So that residual may remain in over the domain or something. Some places it will be 0, some places it will be in a maximum kind of things you can find it. So we'll take a simple example. This is a uniform bar having a length L and applied within a uniform axial load. This typically is typically self-weight kind of a problem. So this can be represented with this differential equation: A E d2u by dx square plus q0 equal to 0. This is what in a behavior representation is. What that behavior tells. So how this u is varying with respect to x. That is what it is represented by this differential equation. Okay. And what are the boundary conditions? At this end, my displacement is 0. Along with this displacement, I have a slope. Means if I plot this with respect to x, this is my x-axis, and I'm going to plot it. Displacement will be like this, and slope of this particular point or tangent at this particular point, that is, I can say du by dx is 0. At this point, my slope or tangent, or I can say it is in a strain also, is 0. So this is what my condition it is told. Okay, and this is also possible for this case also. Okay, at x equal to L also it is possible. So when we are going to deal with such problems, so what is to be done is first of all start with a Gauss solution. This is my C0, C1, C2. So how many constants we need to select it? So this is typically a polynomial, and most of the time you may go for not in polynomial but transcendental equation or any kind of an equations. Here it is a second order equation. These are the two boundary conditions. I have one condition here, then second condition here, and third condition. So obviously I can go for three such constants. If I go for one more constant into this my equation, so we'll not find a condition to get that particular constant. That's what we only stick to the only three constants out here. So this first of all satisfy these boundary conditions. First of all substitute first boundary conditions. So when you substitute this first boundary condition into this becomes 0, this becomes 0, u becomes 0, and your C0 becomes 0. This is one constant value we got it. So second, apply the second boundary condition, taken a derivative of it, that this derivative will be in the C1 plus C2x square or something, and I will get one more equation, that is C2 is equal, C1 is equal to minus C2L. This is my second equation. Now we have a C1 can be replaced with a C2, and I will write in a one constant here. This is my second constant, and now your trial solution becomes this, and this trial solution should satisfy this boundary condition, equation also, differential equation. So next step is to apply into that particular differential equation. So most of the time you will find the differential equation is uh, written in not in one end or something. It is this differential equations which is equal to zero means if I taken a domain, this is my zero domain and this is my L, this is L location, this is X. If I go on calculating this particular parameter, or I will say it is in a domain residual or any, so this domain residual should be zero each and every point onto the domain within that particular domain. It should be zero, but we have started with an approximation. So that domain residual may vary in this fashion, may vary in this fashion, or a may be varying in this fashion. This we should not, this should not happen. And that's what your domain residual should satisfy. This domain residual should be zero each and every point into the domain. And so that is what that's the reason we need to bring all the terms of differential equation on one side and bring zero on other side and substitute into this. So this tells you some value of C2. So if I substitute into this, I will get a C2 value, and that C2 value is typically, so when you substitute into the C2 value, you will get a Q0 upon 2AE. And this Q0 upon 2AE we can substitute back into your differential polynomial equation. That polynomial equation is y is equal to C0 plus C1x plus C2x square. So here C0 we already calculated to be 0, C1 we already substituted into this in terms of C2, and we got this C2, and this will result into this equation. So this is what on a typically solution, and we can just look at one thing into this. You can observe one thing. Differential equation. So what is our differential equation is this, which tells you the variation here. If you look into the boundary condition, this is my first boundary condition, which tells at x equal to 0, my displacement is 0. So this is my x equal to 0 location, and this is my displacement is 0 here. And second boundary condition, that is du by dx, that is written a slope of your equation is 0 at distance L. So here if you taken a tangent of this particular curve at this location, so that is exactly horizontal, and that is what nothing but a slope, and this is satisfied by second boundary condition. This way you can just look into your equations. You need to try to correlate with your boundary conditions and your differential equation. And whatever this variation is a second order variation. This is my second order, and you have started with your function also, C0 plus C1x plus C2x square. Okay, so this is my second order equation, and so this behavior also you can observe it is in a second order equation. So this way you can just correlate with each other, and you can understand what are the solution we got, it whether it is correct or wrong. So this particular method is called as typically a variational principle method, or it is a method of determining a solution for a differential equation by approximate way. So, but this method will not assure you this particular domain residual. This is what domain residual is 0 at each and every point onto the domain, and that is what on a problem, and that's what we need to go for new technique into this, and this will just look at. So that's what the reason there is one technique called as a weighted residual statement. Weighted residual statement means you might be remembering one step in numerical integration. In numerical integration, we have gone through Gauss quadrature technique. In Gauss quadrature, what we are doing, integration of my particular curve over the domain is weighted with w1 x1 plus w2. This is 2 point integration, I can say, w1 x1 and w2 x2. So this is my x0 and this is my x1. I have a curve like this. I want to determine the integration over, this is my a and this is my b. Okay, ultimately what you are doing, you are going to take up on a x1 parameter, x1 variable here, and you are going to give an a x2 variable, and we are going to give an a weightage to this w1 and w2. So that is what a numerical value as a weightage. Here we are assuming 1 by 2, here we are assuming 1 by 2. So we are going to give an a weightage to it, and that weightage is going to tell me only one single value here, another single value, and it is somewhere it is approximately tracking your entire domain, and that is what in a technique called as a weighting function. So same kind of a technique is used in your brain, information processing, storing, all the process. That is what it is called as a neural network. ANN also follows the same technique. So same is there in the it is weighted residual technique. In weighted residual technique, here only this is the numbers. This is what on a number. Typically, this is a single number it is assumed, and that's what it is called as a Gauss quadrature. And you know these w1, w2 as in a fixed numbers, but in generalized weighted residual statement, so these are the not numbers. This is nothing but my function. This is what my function. It is not in a single number. It has some sort of function, maybe in a w is equal to, it is x into x minus l or something. So this is nothing but my function which varies with respect to x. So that is what in a weight function it is called. Previously we have seen these are the numbers, and here it is in a function, and here it is again. So we can just look at this is what are the integration we are typically using for a minimization purpose over the domain. Domain may if I am taking a beam or any kind of a problem, I starting with an x equal to 0 and x equal to l. This is my domain. I am going to integrate over this entire 0 to l. That is what an integration we are going to do it. Next element is my weight function. That function may be anything, maybe in a simple polynomial or something, but in this weight function with no constants into this. This is what the most important thing you need to look at it. You need to consider these constants should not be there over this, and that is what in a weight function it is called. So next is your domain residual, where domain residual means it is in a difference, or if whatever the behavior it is represented into differential equation, that behavior should be 0. So that behavior is equal to 0, and that whatever the domain residual is there, it should be 0 over the entire domain. And this can be solved for multiple functions. I can have a wn as a one function, w2 as a function, w3 as a function. So many functions I can take at a time, and I can go on solving this with here I will get one equation, here second equation, this is my third equations. How many constants we have assumed here? I may have assumed 2 constants, maybe C1 and C2. I have to go only W1 and W2 functions. If I assume one more constant, I have to go for 3W and W3, like this. So this particular statement is called as a weighted residual statement, because it is taking a weight value, it is taking a domain residual, multiplying them, integrating over the domain. So sometimes we will find it difficult to understand this. When we solve numericals, we will come to know why this is necessary for this. Okay, so these are the number of weight functions, and we start with some polynomial. This is generalized representation of polynomial. My generalized representation means I can have this is what a shape function it is called, which represents in a shape of your particular behavior. That is what it is called, or field variable. So this is a shape function. These are the constants. I can now write in a C, that is a phi is my 1, I C1, I can have the x, then C2x. So these two can be represented by simply a summing symbol like this. So this is solution is obtained by equating integration of your functions and your domain residual. This function is nothing but my weighted residual function, weight function, and your domain residual is here. It is domain residual. You are going to multiply with this over the entire component, and this should be equal to 0. So then we will get a solution, and this will solve for n different constants, and this n constants are representing n different conditions into the solution, and we are getting an n constant values into this. So is it clear to you? So we'll take one example, then you will understand it. So is there anyone who can answer me whether it is clear? Then I will move towards the next part of it. Yes, Ajinkya? Anyone? Can you hear me? Okay, we'll now move towards the next part, that is what in a Galerkin method. In Galerkin method, we are same weighted result statement is used here, and we'll take up on one simple example, simply supported beam with a point load at a center point, that is at a midpoint, and we'll start with a solution. So what was the basically intention that the here the solution is at y equal to 0, at x equal to L and 0. So here my displacement of this particular beam is 0 at these 2 points. This is what it is said in this. And then these are the kinematic boundary conditions of the beam. These are the boundary conditions for them. So we start with some generalized function like this. Okay? X minus a raised to p, x minus b raised to q, with a and p and q are positive constant, a is 0 and b is L. So then I will start with a first term, only one term approximation. I will only assume one single weight function, that is what it is called as a one term function, one term approximation. So we'll start with deflection is assumed to be y is equal to, this is my shape function, and that shape function is determined by this particular relation, and that shape function is assumed to be an n is equal to x into bracket x minus l. Why we have to take this? If you put this x equal to 0 in this, what is the value of this? This becomes 0. If I put x equal to L, my shape function becomes again 0. So what this indicates? So this indicates my x point here is 0, and which results my displacement is 0 here. So this is what. So second, here as I am going to put this x equal to L, and at this location my displacement is 0, and this is what it is called as this function satisfies both boundary conditions, and that's what we can take up further. Okay. Then which satisfy both end condition, that is at x equal to 0 and x equal to L, displacement is 0. And now we have a deflection equation. So this is what a typical deflection equation, and which is representation behavior from this point to this point. So what will be the behavior? This behavior is captured by this equation. This is a second order beam bending equation, that is d2y by dx square, which is equal to minus m by e. This equation. So we'll now move towards step by step into this. So first of all, just look at this movements. If I take a beam, this is my beam, this is my domain. I am going to apply the force here, that is P. I can say the distance is L by 2. Okay. हां बोल.
लेक्चर कितीपर्यंत आहे?
1 वाजेपर्यंत का गं?
बरं खिचडी करते, जेवण झोपायचं झालं
ठीक आहे
पोरांचं.
ठीक आहे, माझं होऊन जाईल चालेल. Sorry. So here you need to determine the movement. Movement means I can just look at here, and here it is a p by 2 is there. Here reaction is again p by 2, and movement is p by 2 into what are the distance. This is my x distance, that is multiplied by this, and that is valid for 0 to only up to L by 2. From this is again going to have a different movement, and that's what we can get in a two equations like this. So this is what it is to be subtracted from this, and this should be for L by 2 to L. This x is varying from this is wrong in fact. So now I can have this equation, and this equation is typically y is equal to x into L into C. This is what my constant I want to determine it. So this constant we want to determine it. So then dy by dx square is equal to, I can now m by ei, I can put it, and I can get a residual of the entire equation like this. So r is equal to, you can bring all the terms of differential equation to the one side, and that is equal to 0. So that is nothing but a residual, and this residual should be 0 practically at every point on the domain. That is what the things. So now you want to determine the c. You can determine d2y by dx square into, and substitute this d2y by dx square which we have calculated previously from this equation. Okay, then now come back to your differential equations. So here, come back to your weighted residual statement. Weighted residual statement is w r into dx. So this is for two places. One is displacement. Your one point is from x equal to 0 to your x equal to L by 2, and from this x equal to L by 2 to x equal to L. So I have to integrate separately for this particular part, as well as I have to add up this integration, and this is one phase and this is my second phase. That's what this phase is nothing but a representation of this equation, which will take a moment of this first phase. This moment it will take. Okay, and this particular second phase will take a moment here, and which is equation of this. This is nothing but my equation. This is what the way it is represented. Okay, so that's what we get in two equations. One is representing integration over 0 to L by 2, another is representing L by 2 by to the L, and this weight is weight function, and this is equal to n in case of a Galerkin method. In case of Galerkin method means this weight function should be equal to your shape function. This is what my shape function. But in this shape function, so c is my constant. Constant will not come. This much is nothing but my n. So my equation is n into c, and this n is nothing but x into x minus L into c something, and this Galerkin method. So obviously I need to these two integrals. One is this first part of beam, second is for second part of the beam, like this. As m changes, the reason is that moment is going to change from L by 2 distance. So obviously I will now substitute this nx for both the cases. This is one case, this is my second case. I'll now put these two separately. This is one part. This is what my domain residual, which is taken from this point, and m is here, it is substituted within a p by 2, and here this is to be wrong, and it should be p by 2 x into x minus L. That is what the way it should be there. And then finally you can determine constant through this equal to 0, and only unknown part as here, only c is unknown part into this, and that c is determined, and that c is equal to will result into this equation. C is equal to UPL by 64 EI. Now your equation, come back to your equation where you have started. So this is your equation. And now substitute the C value, only one single constant you want to determine, and can be substituted into this. And this shows in a behavior of your bending beam. This will show you the behavior as this, because this is x and this is x, is ultimately it will become an x square, and this is nothing but showing parabolic behavior. This parabolic behavior you can just trace it out using this. So then you want to now know, okay, at x equal to L, at middle point where you applied the force, at that point, particular point, my deflection is maximum, and that maximum displacement can be determined by this equation. And you can substitute L by 2 into this, you will get 51.2 EI something, and which is actually, and exact solution is somewhere, it is a 48 EI. So somewhere we are very much near to this, and we are not exactly coming to the 48, but we are somewhere near to it, 51.2 something, higher values. So this is what the way we can get in for a one parameter solution, and we'll look at for two parameter solution and we'll stop it. Next part we'll cover into the next sessions. In two parameter solution, so the rest is the same, only the thing is that we are assuming this displacement not with a single constant, we are assuming this with two constants. Previously we have only n into c, here we got two constants c1 and c2 and two different shape functions. Okay, so this is my first shape function, this is first, and this is my second. So I can have n1 is represented by this, n2 is represented by this. This way I can get two shape functions, and then both equations should satisfy my boundary conditions. That is, at x equal to 0, my n1 should be 0. Also n2 should be 0. At x equal to L, my n1 should 0 and n2 also should be 0. So these are the two conditions, and two equations should satisfy, and that is what the way you can just look at it. Now I can get I can substitute into this, I can determine d2y by dx square, and I will get the equation like this, 2c1 plus 2 into bracket 3x minus 2l into c2. So this is what c1 and c2 are two constants we need to determine, and these two constants are determined by again domain residual. You can substitute into this particular part, you can substitute into domain residual. So here d2y by dx square is determined, and this d2y by dx square you can substitute. M is to be determined for two phases, one is 0 to L by 2 and another is for L by 2 to L. So that way you can get these two moments, and then obviously we need to have two functions. One is here it is my first weight function n1, and now I can substitute one phase. This is for first phase. This equation is for first phase, and this equation is for my second phase. So likewise I can get two phases into this. I can integrate. I will get one single equation which contains c1 and c2. So this way I can get one first equation. Similarly I can get I can just now change, instead of n1 I am now going to substitute n2, and I am going to get one more equation which contains c1 and c2 again. So I will get two equations. So this is my first equation which is resulting from first weight function, and this is my second equation which is resulting from my second weight function. So here two unknowns, one is c1 and c2, two unknowns and two equations are there. We can simultaneously solve these equations, and we can get two constants. So one is 55pl by 192 EI and 25p 96 EI divided by 96 EI. So then now you can substitute into final equations. You will get this equation. This will give a better solution because we are going for a higher order. We are taking two parameter solution. We are considering two parameters, that is C1 and C2. That's what it is called as a two parameter solution. So it is having a C1 and C2 as two parameters into this. So here it is the C1 value, here it is the C2 value. You can substitute into your equation and you will get a final solution. We'll now look at the comparison. What is the basically, this is what your exact solution, which is typically got it from analytical. This is also called as an analytical solution. Okay, and then this is one term solution, that is 5 upon something, you got it. Okay, in one term solution. This is my two term solution because I got in a two terms. This is my first term and this is my second term. So two term solution. We'll now compare it. So this is beam. Then my displacement should result 0 at this location and this location. My moment should moment should be maximum at this location and my displacement also should be maximum at this location. So you can just look at the comparison here. So what are the red color line indicates my exact solution, and one term solution you can get in a somewhat more gap between this red color. This is a more gap in between these two, and two term solution I can get in a better results than one term solution. It is not exactly equal to this. This is what the way you can look into the Galerkin method. Galerkin method means it is typically used for formulating the elemental equations. That part we'll look into the next sessions, how to use this Galerkin method to formulate the differential equation, formulate the elemental equations into this. So this is what the way you can do it, and next time we'll look for a point collocation method as well as least square